His curse burned kingdoms. Her touch stopped it. But mercy was never part of the prophecy, and the moon is waking to reclaim what she spared. What happens when love becomes the deadliest magic alive? If a single touch could rewrite destiny, what would you risk for it? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, because this love story is only just beginning. She woke beneath carved marble ceilings that shimmered like ice. The air hummed with power, old, divine, and heavy with silence. Before her, the Alpha King stood without his crown. Thallin Veilor, ruler of Eldrath, the man cursed by the moon to never be touched, now watched her like a man on the edge of belief. "You shouldn't have touched me," he said quietly. "The curse wasn't meant to bend." Vera's voice trembled. "Then why am I still alive?" Outside, thunder rolled over the frozen mountains, but inside, her heart and his cursed fire pulsed in the same rhythm, as if the moon had chosen her hand to rewrite fate itself. Excellent. The room still hums with power long after the lightning fades. Vera stands trembling before him, her palm still resting against his chest, where the mark of the curse once burned like an open wound. Now it's quiet. Too quiet. The fire in the hearth dances in unnatural stillness, its flames bent toward her hand, as if gravity itself has changed its mind. Thallin's eyes remain fixed on her. Silver irises, fractured by shadows, catch the faint shimmer from her skin. He doesn't breathe. He doesn't blink. He only listens, to the impossible sound of a heartbeat that isn't his alone. "Your touch," he murmurs, the words dragging like a knife through velvet. "Should have killed you." Vera doesn't move. Then why didn't it? Thallin steps closer. The air tightens, hot and cold at once, the way the world feels before thunder strikes. His hand hovers inches from her throat, not in threat, but disbelief. He studies the fine shimmer of her skin, the way it glows faintly where his aura brushes it. Every instinct screams for him to pull away. Every memory of death tells him this cannot be. But she doesn't flinch. She only whispers, "Maybe your curse got tired of being lonely." He stops. For the first time in a decade, the Alpha King laughs, not loud, but bitter, astonished. "Curses don't get tired, girl. They feed." Her lips curve slightly. "Then maybe I'm feeding it too." When the guards burst through the door, their silver armor clangs against the stone. The captain freezes when he sees Thallin standing ungloved before the girl, her hand still close to his skin. "Your Majesty, step back," he yells. "She's cursed." But it's too late for warnings. The torches lining the walls flare bright, one by one, like living things bowing toward her. The flames don't burn orange, they burn silver. Every soldier in the room feels the pull. A low hum vibrates through the floor, through bone, through heartbeats. It's her. Vera stumbles back, terrified now, clutching her chest. "What's happening?" Thallin answers, his voice dark with awe. "The curse. It's reacting to you." He lifts his palm and opens it. Between them, a tendril of light arcs like liquid metal, binding the air from his hand to hers. The guards fall to their knees. The priest who enters behind them whispers, "The bond mark. It's awakened." Thallin ignores the chaos. He looks only at her. "What did you touch before they brought you here?" Vera's eyes flicker. "A mask. In the ruins." The priest gasps. "The Queen's relic. Destroy it." "No," Thallin snaps. His voice shakes the room. "No one touches it." He steps between Vera and the soldiers, his aura spreading like a storm. "She stays under my protection." The captain hesitates. "But your Majesty." "Leave," Thallin growls. And the word leave is not spoken as command, it's cast as law. The soldiers retreat. The door slams shut, the room dims. Vera exhales shakily. "You're not supposed to protect me." Thallin turns to her. "And you're not supposed to be alive." Later, when the hall lies silent, Thallin stands alone by the mirror. He watches the reflection of his own hand, still trembling from the contact. The curse beneath his flesh moves like light trapped under water, beautiful, dangerous, desperate to escape. He lifts the glove from the table and hesitates before putting it on. The memory of her warmth still lingers against his palm, confusing, impossible. He could still feel her heartbeat. It had matched his. The bond mark, he mutters to himself. It hasn't reacted in generations. The last time it had glowed, it was the night his first queen died. She had touched him, and her heart had stopped in his arms. He swore that night never to feel again. And yet, the thought of Veyra's trembling voice, the fearless way she stood before him, slips under his defenses like a prayer he never meant to hear. When the storm eases, Veyra sits by the fire in the same chamber. The palace healer, an old man with trembling hands, tries to bandage her fingers, but the silver glow from her skin refuses to fade. "Does it hurt?" the healer asks softly. She shakes her head. "No, it feels like it's waiting." "Waiting?" "For him," she says. The healer's eyes widen. "Child, don't speak such things aloud. The king's curse is not a story. It's death itself." "I've met death before," Veyra murmurs, staring into the fire. "It didn't look like him." Outside, Thalin listens from the hall, unseen. Every word of hers pulls at something he'd buried long ago, an emotion older than his curse. At midnight, he returns to her. No guards, no audience, only the two of them, framed by dying firelight and wind. "You should sleep," he says. "I can't." "Why?" Veyra looks up at him. "Because every time I close my eyes, I see silver light, and I hear your name." Thalin's throat tightens. "You don't know my name." She rises slowly, her bare feet silent against the marble. "Then tell me." He stares at her for a long moment, the space between them pulsing with unseen energy. Finally he whispers, "Thalin Veilor." The name falls heavy, ancient, weighted by sorrow. Veyra repeats it softly. The curse inside him flares like a living flame. Her mark glows brighter in response. For a moment, it feels like the world itself recognizes them. The air hums with the moon's voice, distant, feminine, cruelly calm. The cursed king and the chosen hand, one to love, one to burn. Veyra gasps. "What was that?" Thalin steps back, shaking his head. "It's begun again." Before dawn, he takes her to the moonlit courtyard, a place no servant dares to enter. The frost underfoot glows faintly, tracing runes older than the palace itself. In the center stands a shallow basin filled with silver water. "This," Thalin says, "is where the curse was born." Veyra looks down at the water. Her reflection glimmers with moonlight instead of firelight. "What do you want me to do?" "Touch it," he says. She hesitates. "What if it kills me?" He meets her eyes. "Then I'll know the curse still belongs to me." And somehow, she smiles. "You sound disappointed." He doesn't deny it. "Maybe I am." She kneels. Her fingertips brush the silver surface. Ripples spread outward, slow, then faster, until the basin erupts in a column of light that engulfs them both. The courtyard fills with the echo of a heartbeat, hers and his fused in rhythm. Wind rushes outward, shattering the frost on the walls. When the light fades, the water is gone, and the mark on her wrist burns like liquid moonfire. Veyra gasps. "What's happening to me?" Thalin's voice breaks. "You've been claimed." "By what?" He answers, almost reverently. "By me." The moon overhead trembles, splitting its reflection across the palace walls. Somewhere deep in the mountains, the priests wake from their sleep, whispering ancient words that haven't been spoken since the age of the first curse. In the silent courtyard, Veyra stands glowing beneath the pale light, her breath visible in the cold air. Thalin watches her with the look of a man who's just realized the thing he's feared all his life might be the only thing that can save him. He takes a step closer, bare hands reaching. The fire in his blood flares bright enough to blind him, but when his fingers touch her cheek, the pain doesn't come. Instead, the air fills with the sound of something vast and unseen waking from centuries of sleep. The moon whispers once more, soft, warning, prophetic. The bond is sealed. The world will remember their touch. The echo of the moon's voice shivers through the stones and fades. Vera stands in a spill of pale light, her breath a ghost. The mark on her wrist, crescent turned inward, beats warm against her skin, answering an older pulse inside Thalin's chest. He doesn't lower his hand. He keeps it on her cheek, as if proof might vanish if he blinks. No ash, no fire, no death. Vera, he says softly, like a secret he isn't allowed to speak twice. Her eyes flick to the sky, then back to him. You heard it too. The moon rarely whispers, he answers. When she does, kingdoms change. Wind combs the frost from the hedges. Beyond the arches, bells begin to ring, uneven, startled, as if the palace itself woke from a nightmare. Guards shout orders in corridors. The world moves again. Thalin steps back first. Distance is his armor. Control, his prayer. Not here, he murmurs. If those bells are for you, I won't let them turn you into a spectacle. Then where? Vera asks. His gaze lifts toward a gate of black iron veined with silver thorns. The moon garden. He takes her there by hidden ways, a tunnel of ribs and roots, stairwells stitched with old runes. A door that opens only to a king's blood. The garden waits like a kept promise. Winter roses sheened in frost, white lanterns swaying like captive stars, a narrow pool that carries the moon like a blade. Vera pauses at the threshold. It's beautiful. It is dangerous, he says, and for a heartbeat she isn't sure whether he means the place or himself. They walk beneath branches powdered with ice. The lanterns bow toward her as she passes, a hush trailing her steps. Her mark glows brighter beneath their light. Why do they respond? She asks. Because this place was planted for a queen who never came, Thalin answers. The first and last who touched me and lived long enough to love it. He doesn't look at her when he says it. He can't. At the pool, he faces her. I need to know what you are to me, what this is to the curse. If I keep you near, and you're the blade that finishes what the moon began. I'm not a weapon, she says, too fast, too raw. Something like a smile threatens his mouth, vanishes. No, you are the hand that turned toward a fire and didn't flinch. Silence holds. Lanterns drift. The pool keeps the moon unbroken. How do we know? Vera asks at last. We test. He extends his bare hand, vulnerable, infamous. Let me feel it happen. She places her palm in his. The bond wakes like a struck chord, low, resonant, traveling bone to bone. The garden inhales. Thalin's lashes shudder. He swallows a sound that might be pain and might be relief. Vera stiffens, then softens, the heat of him sliding harmlessly into her. The old violence of his curse, scissoring and unthreading into something that yields. And then she feels it, faint as a footprint in new snow. His emotion, loneliness, vast, regal, disciplined into silence for so long it forgot how to speak. Grief braided with duty, the ache of choosing distance as a crown. Vera startles and snatches her hand back. I felt you. Thalin's eyes are winter still. What did you feel? You, she whispers, not the power. You. The curse is threaded through my heart, he says. If you felt me, you felt it too. Before she can answer, footsteps crack the frost. A figure in white emerges from the thorned arch, a woman robed in moon silk, eyes veiled, silver chains dripping from her wrists like icicles. The High Oracle. Your Majesty, she says, bowing to ritual, voice razor smooth. Forgive the trespass. The bells woke the sanctum. Thalin's shoulders draw a fraction tighter. Then the sanctum heard what the moon said. The oracle's veiled gaze turns to Vera. Lanterns recoil an inch, uneasy. The hand that should have burned, Vera stands taller, though the air needles her lungs. I didn't. So the curse tells us. The oracle glides nearer, studying the crescent on Vera's wrist. Her fingers hover, careful not to touch. Mark of reversal, she pronounces, every syllable an iron seal. Not seen in an age. One born to break a law or bind it forever. Thalin's jaw flexes. Name its cost. 2 paths, the oracle says, soft enough to be cruel. If the king claims the hand, the curse may bow. But the bond will inherit its hunger. If the hand renounces the king, the curse may sleep, but the king will burn alone. Vera's pulse stumbles. Those aren't paths. They're punishments. All vows are. The oracle's veil glints. Tell me, child, how did you come here? I touched a relic, Vera says, a mask. The lost queen's face. The oracle's mouth corners lift, prayer or threat. Of course, history enjoys repeating itself. She is not history, Thalin says, the iron in his voice melting the frost between words. She is mine to protect, and the kingdom is mine to weigh, the oracle replies, crystalline. She lifts her hands and begins a chant. The lanterns tremble. The pool's blade moon quivers. Vera's mark burns as if bitten. I seek permission, the oracle intones, to test the bond. Thalin steps forward. You will not touch her. I need not. The oracle opens her palms. A cone of moonlight falls over Vera like rain. Symbols rise, pearled and rotating, from the crescent on her wrist. Echoes of Thalin's sigil ripple along his forearm in answer. Their lights align, twist, fuse. And Vera hears again. Not words this time. Memories. His first winter as king, speaking to empty corridors because he'd forbidden anyone to stand within arm's length. The first time he laughed after the curse. Alone, because a bird landed on his shoulder and lived. The night he locked away the mirrors because reflecting was worse than burning. Vera flinches under the rush of it. Thalin's hand closes to a fist. He bears the exposure without blinking. The oracle lowers her arms. The light swirls back into skin. Her voice loses none of its poise. It is as I thought. She is your counterweight. The curse vents through her touch, without breaking her flesh. Then she is safe, Thalin says, for now. A line of shadow cuts the oracle's mouth. But when balance learns itself, it demands tribute. The moon never unties a knot. She asks the bond to hold it differently. Speak plainly, Vera says. You will feel him. The oracle's veiled eyes are a winter sea, and he will feel you. Each fear, each ache, each wound. If you turn from him, he will burn untempered. If he turns from you, you will drown in what you take. Vera steadies. Then we learn not to turn. The oracle inclines her head, as if at a child repeating a lesson the world won't allow. The council will petition for separation at dawn. They will be denied, Thalin says. Kings deny. Moons decide. She backs toward the arch, chains whispering. Prepare, Majesty. The crimson tide is due. What tide? Vera asks. The oracle's veil tilts toward the pool. When the moon bleeds, all bonds are judged. She is gone. Thorns knit, lanterns settle, bruised. For a moment, neither of them speaks. The garden is a held breath. Then Thalin exhales and looks at Vera, not as a king weighing a sigil, but as a man learning the shape of hope. You shouldn't have to carry what I am. It's already lighter, she says, surprising herself with the truth of it. His brow furrows. How? Because I'm standing closer. She lifts her wrist. The crescent answers him, gentled now. Because it hurts less when you don't look away. A sound that might be gratitude ghosts his lips. Then stay, each night, here. He gestures to the moon garden. I'll teach you what the bond can do, and you. He tries for steadiness and almost manages it. You'll tell me when it is too much. Agreed, she says, and the word is an oath. Night folds into ritual. Night 1, he shows her how to dampen the flare when soldiers pass too near. Night 2, she teaches him to bleed his heat into stone instead of skin. Night 3, they discover the thread that lets Vera draw the pain from his bones like splinters. She staggers. He steadies. They strip power into pieces and rename them breath. Word spreads. Servants whisper of a girl who does not burn. Nobles drink fear. The council writes prayers that are warnings. And still, in the moon garden, the two of them learn to hold a curse without letting it hold them. On the 7th night, Vera wakes from a vision with salt on her face. I saw you as a boy, she says, practicing not to cry. Thalin's mouth hardens, then softens. I was told kings do not leak. Kings are allowed to be rivers, she says, and he looks at her like the sentence rearranged his ribs. They stand by the pool. The moon rides high, clean, watchful, bright as a blade. The lanterns don't bow tonight. They brace. Vera's mark warms. Thalin's palm answers. The air tightens, pricks, hums. Do you feel that? She whispers. He nods once. Judgment. Clouds crawl the horizon with a predator's patience. The white face of the moon takes a breath, then stains slowly, as if a thumb dragged across fresh paint. Red leaches in from the edges, winding toward the center, turning the reflection in the pool to a dark, wine-black eye. The garden goes dead quiet. Frost climbs the roses in a single, rapid shiver. The pool ripples without a wind. The bells start again, this time in a pattern, this time afraid on purpose. Vera's crescent flares white against the crimson light. Thalin's veins string silver beneath his skin. The moon bleeds. You said we learn not to turn, he says, voice raw. She threads her fingers through his, bare, defiant. Then don't. The red deepens. Somewhere beyond the palace, wolves cry and men pray. From the center of the stained moon, a second voice unfurls. Older than the first, lower, hungry. Bring the hand to the altar. King. Or burn with what you claim. The pool fractures like a mirror struck by a thought. Vera squeezes his hand. Thalin. Above them, the moon goes fully crimson, and the garden begins to move. The moon garden heaves like a living thing. Roots writhe under the frost. Lanterns sway without wind. The pool's surface knits and unknits like torn silk. Crimson light pours over everything, painting Thalin and Vera in a stain the water cannot hold. Back, Thalin orders, voice a low strike of iron. He drags Vera with him beneath the arch as the blade moon in the pool fractures into 12 bright shards. Far away, bells hammer to a rhythm the city has not heard in a generation. The sanctum's alarm, the council's panic, the people's prayers braided into noise. The bond tightens between their hands. Heat thrums under Thalin's skin, dangerous, rising too fast. He feels the old thing wake, the curse that has spent a decade obeying distance, now tasting nearness and opening its eyes. Thalin, Vera whispers, your veins. Silver threads scorch across his forearms, pulsing. Lanterns bow. Frost hisses to steam around his boots. Move, he says, and this time it isn't a king's command, it's a man trying to keep a promise. They push through the hidden door and into the spine of the palace. Passageways tilt. Runes brighten under his feet like coals remembering flame. Vera keeps pace, breath quick, eyes on him and not the walls that breathe. They reach the stair to the northern tower. The wind there has teeth. It chews sound, carries the taste of iron. The crimson moon hangs low enough to unbutton clouds. Each step he climbs, the curse climbs with him, fierce as a storm trying on a man's shape. Halfway up, a white-liveried page turns the corner too fast and collides with Thalin's shoulder. There's no time to shout, no time to warn. The boy ignites. Not fire. Light. Clean. Violent. Instantaneous. He doesn't scream. He simply becomes a column of brightness, then dust, then nothing. His torch hits stone and goes out. Vera staggers, a sound tearing from her throat. Thalin flinches, the way men flinch when hit where no blade shows. He stares at his empty palm like a traitor. "I told them not to touch me," he says, voice gutted. "You told the world not to," Vera answers, shaking, but already at his side, already reaching for him, as if the lesson she learned in the garden can outshout a decade of fear. "Look at me, look at me." Guards spill into the stairwell from above, silver helms, bare blades, faces white. "Majesty, are you harmed? Who is—" "Stand down." Thalin's roar cracks the air. "Seal the tower. No one approaches me, no one approaches her." "But the bells—" "The bells ring because she is watching," he snarls, and the guards fold, driven back by a heat they'll call holy later. He shoves through them and wrenches the last door. Night slams into him like a body. The northern tower opens to a sky that shouldn't be so close. Ribs of black iron lace the wind. Snow scours the floor in sheets that vanish under his feet. Vera follows, hair dragging light, the crescent in her wrist beating time with his curse. He locks the door and bars it with a length of moon iron no servant can shift. Alone together, at the highest point of the palace, he braces both hands on the parapet and bows, like the night is a weight tied to his spine. "Keep away from me," he says without turning. "No." Lightning threads the clouds. The tower bones glow. "I just killed a boy," he says to the wind. "Stay, back." "I saw you save a city," she says to the man. He laughs once, a sound like flint. "He touched my cloak." "You told him not to." "He was a child." "So were you," Vera says, soft, unmerciful, "when they taught you to stand alone." He doesn't answer. The crimson moon swells, a fruit bleeding in slow motion. The curse riots. It runs his nerves, rakes his ribs, claws his throat from the inside. He knows the signs. He's survived enough nights, barely, to map the curve of it, but never with someone inside the room, never with a hand that could turn it to something else. "Vera," he says, and her name is both plea and dismissal. "I cannot, if you stay. You will try not to burn me," she says, stepping into his arc, into the breath that ripples the hairs on his wrist. "And I will try not to run." He turns then, slowly. He lets himself see her, jaw tight, pupils blown, fear present but refusing to take the first seat. The mark at her wrist warmth bright, patient bright, as if it has spent a long time waiting to be used for something other than omen. "You shouldn't be here," he says again, and it's the last true thing fear allows him. "And yet," she says, "here I am." Another thread of lightning cleaves the sky. For an instant, the northern rim becomes ribs of crystal. Wind grabs at her dress and snaps it like a sail. The goddess speaks, not through vision, not through dream, through thunder shaped into language. Love her, and kingdoms will fall. The tower seems to tilt. The world waits to be told which way to collapse. Thalin stares into a sky that has always felt like a judge and bares his teeth. "Then let it fall," he says, not like a king, like a man who's done with surviving at the cost of everything that made survival matter. He steps to Vera. The curse rages, a tide against a harbor. Every training, every ritual, every inch of practiced distance shatters beneath the simple mechanics of his body choosing forward. He lifts one hand to her face, and when her skin meets his palm, the heat sizzles, sparks, then sinks, meek as a tamed wave. Vera exhales as if she's been underwater for years. He bends. He kisses her. Not careful, not hesitant, a vow broken on purpose. Mouth to mouth, heat to heat, the kind of kiss people build religions around and burn them for. The tower erupts. White flame rockets from the seam of their mouths, from the lines in his palms, from the crescent in her wrist. It lances the sky in a spear that cracks cloud to bone. Snow becomes steam. Iron sings. Every lantern in the city gutters and goes out as if compelled to kneel. The sanctum's bells stutter, then fall mute, tongues melted. Inside the wave of light, Thalin feels everything. The first time the curse took a life, the last time he allowed himself to grieve it. The years he convinced himself a control was a virtue when it was only a prettier name for despair. Inside the wave of light, Vera feels everything. His terror, taut, elegant, masked in marble. His joy, wild, ashamed of itself. His need, so clean it embarrasses the power that cloaks it. The wind claws at them and cannot separate. The bond threads their ribs and tells a different story than the oracles, one where holding turns judgment into weight two hands can bear. The goddess hisses through the flame. Choose. He chooses her by not letting go. The light peaks, blister bright, and breaks. Silence descends, absolute for a breath, long enough to hear the city inhale. Snow tumbles back into being. The iron cools. The crimson drains from the moon as if siphoned, leaving it pallid, watchful. A judge who has temporarily closed her book. Thalin's hands are still cupping Vera's face. He opens his eyes slowly, like a man surfacing from a deep dive he did not expect to survive. Vera, he whispers, because it is the only sentence left that matters. She doesn't answer. Her lashes flutter and still. Her weight softens. He catches her before she folds. Her head falls against his shoulder with a sound like permission. For one full second, he wonders if this is what peace feels like. Then he sees it. Her veins, they glow, not the garish red of punishment, the sovereign silver of his curse, threaded under her skin, winding her arms, lighting her throat in delicate branches, as if a winter tree had rooted in her blood. No, he breathes, and it is a prayer he has never learned how to make. No, no. He lowers her to the stone with a care that belongs to something domesticated, not an alpha king. He touches her wrist. The crescent there burns white-hot and serene. Her pulse beats steady beneath it, but quieter than it should. Wake. He doesn't bark. He begs. Vera, wake. She doesn't. Beneath his palms, the silver lines climb, lacework blooming, fever bright and beautiful in a way that destroys beauty. The curse has learned a new path and is taking it, obedient to whatever law love just wrote. Wind scours the tower. Somewhere below, doors slam, feet run, voices braid panic. The sanctum refines its bells and clatters them to life. The northern gate disgorges wolves of smoke. Thalin bares his teeth at a sky that has done nothing but watch and spits a promise into it. You will not take her payment as mine. The silver brightens, a warning flare under skin. He lifts Vera into his arms. Her head lolls against his collarbone. Her breath ghosts his throat. He feels the heat of his own curse where it brushes her and forces it to quiet, like a hound he refuses to let off leash again. He stands with all the slow, deliberate care of a man carrying the only thing that can undo him. Below, the bar on the tower door shakes, moon iron protesting, then yields to hands that do not care about rules. The door bursts open. Sanctum priests in moon silk, counselors in sable, guards in silver, the high oracle herself, veil throwing back the storm's last light, chains whispering judgment as she steps into a room that smells like lightning and new laws. She takes in the king with bare hands, the girl slack with light, the veins that make a map of borrowed fire. Her voice is gentler than the garden, gentler than the arch. Majesty, bring her to the altar. If the curse has chosen its second vessel, there is only one place in Eldrath where it can be taught to bow. Thalin does not move. Now, the oracle says, and her veil dips like a moon about to eclipse, or it will root where it pleases. A tremor runs through Vera's body, small and devastating. Silver floods her collarbones, arcs the cage of her ribs. Thalen lowers his head to her hair. "Forgive me," he says into it, "not for the kiss. For waiting this long to choose." He raises his eyes to the oracle. "Clear the sanctum. It is not permitted. It is now." Something in his tone resets the room. Men move who did not mean to. Doors open that prefer to shut. The oracle considers the shape of his defiance and nods once, a decision that will read later as wisdom or cowardice, depending on who writes it. "Make way," she calls. The hand burns with the king's fire. They part. Thalen steps through the threshold, Vera cradled against his heart, her veins blooming silver like frost racing a window. The tower behind them still whispering the absence of flame. And as he vanishes into the stairwell's dark, the moon peers through the last torn cloth of cloud and looks like a witness who has decided, for now, to watch and not strike. When the fire fades, Vera lies unconscious in Thalen's arms. Her veins glow with the same sovereign silver fire that once cursed him. The sanctum doors groan open on their hinges of bone and gold. The sound carries through the temple's hollowed corridors, like a heartbeat left behind. Thalen crosses the threshold with Vera in his arms. The fire has not left her. It hums beneath her skin in pale veins that shimmer through the soot on her body. The priests fall silent, their chants drying in their throats. The Temple of Mirrors no longer deserves its name. The explosion from the tower's flare shattered every reflection. Shards hang suspended in air by threads of silver prayer, each one catching a ghost of the broken moon above. The High Seer, older than the throne itself, steps from the smoke. Her eyes are veiled in glass. Her hands are painted with ash. "Lay her there," she whispers, pointing to the mirror altar. The curse has crossed its line. Thalen lowers Vera onto the altar's cracked surface. The silver in her veins pulses once, matching the tremor in his palm. He does not let go. The seer circles them, robes whispering. "Do you not see, Majesty? The mark that crowns her hand is not new." "She carries what I carry," Thalen says. "That is all." "No," the seer breathes. "She carries what you were meant to destroy. She is the shadow of the queen who cursed your line." A murmur ripples through the gathered council. Gasps, accusations, the sound of faith sharpening itself into fear. Thalen's voice slices through it. "She is no ghost of your stories." "She is your story," the seer replies. "Reborn, as prophecy foretold, to remind you what love once cost this kingdom." Behind her, the councillors kneel in a half-circle, lips moving in prayers that double as judgments. "Then say it," Thalen challenges. "Say what you truly want." The oldest councillor rises. "Her death, my king, before the curse roots again, before the blood moon returns." The temple reacts before Thalen does. The mirrors shudder. The flames bend inward, pulled by the gravity of something ancient. Thalen draws his sword, not out of fear, but defiance. The blade glows white, reflecting Vera's light like a promise he refuses to break. "No harm will touch her," he says, "not while I breathe." The seer raises her palms. "Then you defy not your council, but your goddess." Lightning rakes the ceiling. The broken mirrors hum, vibrating like struck glass. From each shard, a beam of light shoots outward, converging on Vera's still body. Her eyes snap open. Silver light floods the temple, washing color from every robe and banner. The priests fall to their knees. The seer's veil burns away, revealing tears running down cheeks marked with runes. Through Vera's lips, another voice speaks, calm, infinite, female. "One will carry the curse. One will carry the memory. Choose." Thalen freezes. The words strike the air like seals on stone. "Who speaks?" he demands. The voice answers through Vera, yet not from her. The moon remembers its debt. Vera blinks. Her eyes, two mirrors of liquid silver, meet his. "Thalen," her voice trembles beneath the goddess's echo. I see it. What do you see? Our lives. Before this. Images assault her. Fire swallowing the same temple centuries ago. Her own hands bound in chainlight. Thalin crowned in ash, a goddess watching from behind a curtain of stars, as love burned an empire into bone. Her body arches, shards float higher. You begged for her mercy, she gasps, and she cursed you instead. Thalin's breath falters. Memory, once myth, claws at the edge of his mind. Stop, he whispers, but the vision keeps bleeding through. Vera's tears fall in silver streaks. I was there, Thalin. I was the queen who would not let you die, and so the moon made sure we could never live. The seer drops to her knees, all breaking into fear. The prophecy renews itself. The mirrors crack again, splintering into rivers of firelight. Above, the moon shatters once more. This time its light spilling through the temple roof, raining white ash instead of snow. Thalin grips the altar. If this is true, then the curse is no longer divine. It is repetition. The goddess's voice swells through every mirror. All love is repetition. Then end it, Thalin roars. Take me, spare her. One will burn, one will remember. The words brand the air. Vera's body convulses, the silver lines in her veins flaring brighter, almost white-hot. The goddess's light forms symbols above her chest, ancient runes shaped like intertwined circles, pulsing in rhythm with Thalin's heartbeat. She looks at him through the pain. I remember what we promised. He shakes his head, trembling, half broken by recognition. Don't. You said if we met again, she whispers. You would rather burn than forget. The temple tilts under a sudden wind. The priests scatter. The seer shields her eyes. Flames burst from the seams of the mirrors, sweeping in spirals around the altar. Thalin steps into the fire. His cloak catches, turns to smoke, but the curse refuses to let it harm him. He reaches her side, pulls her against him as the goddess's sigil descends between them. Then remember this, he says, his voice raw, final. The sigil ignites. Fire folds them both in silver and white. The light screams to the rafters, and the prophecy seals itself in flame. One will burn, one will remember. When the smoke clears, only one figure kneels in the ashes. A king with silver eyes staring at an empty altar, while the moon above bleeds itself into darkness. Absolutely. We'll pick up the story exactly from where Chapter 5 ended. Thalin kneeling in the temple's ashes, the moon bleeding red, and Vera gone. This is the moment prophecy turns into apocalypse. The moon bleeds without stopping. Its red light spills across the kingdom like an open wound, painting every tower, every mirror, every prayer in ruin. Thalin kneels alone in the remnants of the Temple of Mirrors. The air still smokes around him. His cloak is torn. His hands drip silver blood that glows faintly, pulsing with the heartbeat he no longer trusts to be his. Vera is gone. The altar that once held her is dust. The echo of her last whisper, "You would rather burn than forget," still trembles in the air like a curse that refuses to fade. Outside, bells toll the death of the moon's favor. By dawn, the city screams. They say the king has murdered the goddess's chosen. They say his curse has rotted the sun. They say the blood moon has risen to collect its debt. The mob becomes an army before noon. Thalin returns to the obsidian palace, the heart of the realm, its black towers glinting crimson beneath the eclipsed sky. He stands upon the balcony as torches bloom below like fields of fire. From this distance, the rebellion looks almost beautiful, like a constellation built to end him. His captains plead for retreat. The priests call it judgment, but Thalin only stares at the horizon where the moon hangs split in half. "She's still out there," he murmurs. The High Marshal kneels, trembling. "Majesty, the rebels come to purge your line. They claim your curse has damned the harvest, the sea, even the dead. You must flee." Thalin's gaze hardens. and leave her memory to be rewritten by fear. No, I'll end this myself. The first wave hits the outer walls at sundown. The sound of steel colliding with prophecy shakes the stones. Vera finds him in the grand corridor, armor half-fastened, light flaring in his eyes again. "You can't fight them all," she whispers. "I won't have to," he replies, sliding a gauntlet into place. "They'll come for me. You stay hidden." Her hand catches his wrist. "Last time I left you, you burned." His lips twitch with something that might have been a smile if not for the sorrow beneath it. "Then maybe I was meant to." She grips harder. "Thalin, don't you dare." The palace shakes as the gates collapse. A roar of thousands floods the halls. He kisses her forehead, fast, final. "If the curse must choose again, let it choose me." Then he's gone, silver cloak flaring like a falling star. The fighting consumes the palace. Blades flash, banners fall. The air thickens with smoke and screams. Vera runs through corridors lit by fire, searching for him. Every heartbeat feels borrowed. Every shadow hums his name. She finds him in the Hall of Kings, where the walls are carved with the faces of ancestors who once believed curses could be bound. Thalin stands before the shattered throne, surrounded. Blood glistens on his blade, but he's breathing like a man already half dead. "Get back," he yells as she enters. But the rebels see her. Their fury sharpens. The witch who cursed the crown. A spear whistles through the smoke, straight toward her. Thalin moves before thought. The weapon strikes his chest. The sound it makes isn't human. It's the universe cracking open. Vera's scream rips through the hall. She runs to him, catching his body as the spear dissolves into light. The wound does not bleed red. It bleeds white fire. He looks at her, eyes wide, but calm. "It's all right." "No." She presses her hands against the wound. Light surges beneath her palms. "You promised." "I am keeping it," he says softly. Then the curse awakens. The world explodes. Silver fire bursts from his skin, racing up the pillars, across the ceiling, through the stained glass windows. The palace becomes a sun. The rebels vanish, erased in a breath of light. The marble melts. The air turns liquid. Vera is thrown backward, the heat searing her lungs. She sees him through the blaze, Thalin standing in the eye of the storm, body dissolving into living fire. He is no longer man or king. He is what the goddess feared, love turned divine, power without restraint. "Thalin!" she cries, crawling toward him. He raises his hand once, as if to touch her through the flame. "Run." "I won't." His voice breaks with tenderness. "Then remember." The blast consumes everything. Silence follows. Ash drifts like snow through the ruins of the obsidian palace. When Vera opens her eyes, dawn is trying to crawl through the smoke. The halls are gone, just bones of stone jutting through silver dust. She coughs, staggering to her feet. Her ears ring with the sound of his name, the echo too real to be gone. Something glints beneath the rubble. She kneels. It's his crown, blackened, warped, still warm to the touch. Around it lies a single feather of ash, impossibly intact, pale as moonlight, light as breath. She lifts it gently. It dissolves between her fingers, leaving a smear of silver across her palm that pulses once, like a heartbeat. Vera closes her fist. Tears cut clean lines through the soot on her cheeks. "Then I'll remember for both of us," she whispers. The wind sighs through the ruins. Far above, the moon finally turns white again, cold, distant, and merciless. When the flames die, only his crown and a single feather of ash remain. The first thaw comes early that year. Snow recedes from the valley in trembling sheets, revealing earth blackened from the fire that devoured the obsidian palace. Where the kingdom once knelt before gods, fields now bloom with herbs and wildflowers. In a cottage of riverstone and wood, built where the ashes cooled, Vera tends a small garden. The villagers call her the healer of shadows. They do not know her name. They only know that when she touches the sick, their pain quiets, that when she speaks to the dying, the air smells faintly of rain, and that wolves stand guard at her door on every full moon. She never asks for payment, only silence. Morning. Vera grinds dried lavender into a bowl, mixing it with honey and crushed willow bark. Her hands move without hurry. Her hair is shorter now, braided to her shoulders. A scar crosses her wrist, faint silver under her skin, the last remnant of the mark she once shared with a king. A child sleeps nearby, fever fading. His mother whispers blessings. Vera nods, offering a soft smile. When they leave, she stands in the doorway and watches them disappear into the fog. Beyond the hills, a river glints where the palace once stood. Its water still runs warm. Forever touched by the night the king became light. The villagers avoid it. Vera cannot. Every month, when the moon fattens, she walks to its banks and kneels. Tonight, the sky burns red again, not with prophecy, but memory. The wind carries whispers through the trees. Sometimes she thinks it's her imagination. Sometimes she knows better. "You weren't meant to break me," the voice says, low as thunder, "only to teach me to live." She freezes, the ointment in her hand dripping back into the bowl. The words ripple through her chest, familiar, alive. Thalin's voice. It comes rarely, and always with storms. Once it terrified her. Now it anchors her. She steps outside. The air hums, charged with static and moonlight. Wolves gather near the tree line, their eyes reflecting the faintest silver glow. She looks up. "If you can hear me," she whispers, "the world is healing. I am healing." The wind answers by bending the flames in her lantern sideways, almost like a nod. The villagers believe the wolves are drawn to her for protection. They don't understand the truth. Each one carries a fragment of the moonfire, the power that Thalin unleashed when he burned for her. When they kneel at her threshold, their eyes mirror his, silver, sad, and eternal. She feeds them by hand, brushing her fingers through fur that shimmers faintly as if lit from within. None ever harm her. Some stay until dawn, sleeping beside her door. Every night she asks the same silent question. Was this your gift or your punishment? When she dreams, it's always the same dream. A storm above the palace, a hand reaching through flame. A whisper, "Run." Then another, "Remember." She wakes each time with tears on her cheeks and the faint smell of smoke lingering in her room. On the anniversary of the eclipse, she cannot sleep. The night is too still, the air too sharp, the wolves restless. She lights a single candle and walks outside, following the river up the valley. It leads her to the ridge overlooking the ruins of the palace. The ground still glows faintly in places, pale silver veins running through the black earth like buried lightning. She kneels, pressing her palms against the soil. "Thalin," she murmurs, "if you're still bound to me, then hear me. I'm not angry anymore." The wind stirs, brushing strands of hair across her face. The temperature drops. She closes her eyes. "You gave everything to protect me. So let me give something back." Her breath fogs in front of her, forming brief shapes that look like words. Then, thunder. A single bolt of lightning strikes the ridge across from her, so bright it turns the night to glass. The wolves cry out once, then kneel. Vera's heart stutters. She looks up. Through the smoke rising from the strike, she sees a silhouette, tall, unmoving, outlined in silver flame. For a moment, she thinks the storm is playing tricks on her eyes. Then the shape begins to walk toward her. Every step it takes leaves steam rising from the ground. She rises slowly, disbelief trembling through her limbs. The air hums like it did that night, the rhythm of fire breathing. The figure stops at the edge of the ruins. His cloak is tattered, but the glow beneath his skin is unmistakable. "Thalin?" The shadow tilts its head, the faintest smile cutting through the mist. "You said you'd remember for both of us," the voice says, soft, hoarse, human. Her lantern flickers out. The wolves bow their heads, and the valley, for the first time in a year, fills with light. On the eclipse's anniversary, thunder rolls, and a shadow steps from the storm. The wind howls like a beast remembering its name. The door bursts inward, slamming against the stone wall. Lanterns tremble. Firelight leaps. Vera turns, heart hammering. A man stands framed by the storm. Cloak shredded, hair slick with melting frost, eyes the same impossible grey she once saw burn silver. For a heartbeat neither speaks. The world holds its breath, as if afraid to decide whether this is resurrection or dream. "Who are you?" she whispers. His voice comes rough, as though dragged from centuries of silence. "You said I'd find you when the snow remembered my name." Her breath catches. "Thalin." He steps close, slow, uncertain. The storm clings to him like a memory that refuses to die. His boots leave small puddles on her floor. Each droplet glows faintly before fading, moonlight bleeding back into shadow. Vera's fingers tremble. She reaches out, expecting the burn, the surge of white fire that once shattered the world. But when her palm brushes his chest, no flame, no pain, only warmth. His body is solid, mortal. The heartbeat beneath her hand is his alone. Tears flood her eyes before she can stop them. "You're real." He exhales, a sound halfway between relief and disbelief. "I wasn't for a long time. The fire kept me between worlds. I thought the curse meant to finish me there. Then how?" "The goddess." He glances toward the window, where wind swirls with silver ash. "She said the fire had learnt mercy, that it burned me clean." Vera presses a hand to her mouth, choking back a sob. "You shouldn't have come back. The prophecy—" "Ended," he interrupts softly. "The moon's debt is paid." Outside, thunder rolls again, but softer now, like a drumbeat fading into peace. The wolves emerge from the storm, circling the cottage in silence. Their eyes, once blazing, glow with calm moonlight. The smallest lies down by the door, guarding them like sentinels of memory. Thalin looks around the little room, the herbs drying by the fire, the bowl of crushed lavender, the empty bed that has known a year of loneliness. "You've built a world without me," he says quietly. Her laugh breaks on a sob. "I tried, but you were in everything. The fire in the hearth, the storms that wouldn't stop, even the wolves. They looked at me the way you did, like I was something worth surviving for." He smiles then, the first true smile she's seen since the day the world burned. "You were." She steps closer, her fingers brushing the collar of his cloak. "Are you free of it then? The curse?" He catches her hand, holding it to his chest. "I don't feel the fire anymore, just this." "What is this?" she whispers. "Living," he says simply. The wind drops to a hush. The fire steadies, and through the last crack of thunder, a voice ripples through the night. Not loud, not cruel, but unmistakably divine. "The curse did not die," the goddess whispers. "It learned mercy." The words linger like incense, fading into the storm. Vera looks up, eyes glistening. "Do you think she forgave us?" Thalin shakes his head. "No. I think she finally understood us." He sinks to his knees before her, not as a king bowing to a queen, but as a man finally unburdened. The wolves outside bow their heads. The storm stills, the air filling with a quiet that hums like prayer. He takes her hand in his, pressing it to his lips. "The world called me untouchable," he says, voice trembling. "But your heart made me human." Her tears fall onto his cheek, glowing faintly as they touch his skin. The moon breaks through the clouds above the valley, pale and full, its light spilling across the room like a benediction. For the first time since the curse was born, it doesn't burn. It blesses. Thalin kneels before her. "The world called me untouchable. Your heart made me human." Perfect. We'll close the saga with the final chapter, picking up 1 year after Thalin's return in Chapter 8. The curse has become legend, and peace now reigns in a kingdom reborn from ash and forgiveness. The Palace of Dawn rises where the obsidian ruins once stood. Its walls shimmer not with gold, but with pale stone veined in silver, built to catch the moonlight instead of defy it. Where there was once fire and ruin, gardens now bloom with silver leaf and blue flame lilies. Peace has become the kingdom's new heartbeat. Vera walks through the courtyard barefoot, her gown brushing against dew-soaked grass. In her hands, she carries a small pouch of seeds, silver herbs she's cultivated from the ashes of the old temple. She kneels beside the altar's ruins, where she once fell to her knees begging for mercy, and plants them one by one. The soil hums faintly beneath her fingers, alive again. Behind her, a voice she knows as well as her own breaks the silence. Every time you plant them, Thallin says, they grow closer to the moonlight. She glances over her shoulder. He stands by the archway, crown in hand, dressed not in armor but simple robes. His eyes, once cold as steel, now glow soft, reflecting the peace he's fought for. That's because they remember the light, she says, smiling, even after it burns them. He walks toward her, pausing to touch the petals she's already sown. You've turned the place of our ending into something that breathes again. I only followed what you began, she replies, rising. The world needed a gentler king. He shakes his head with quiet disbelief. And I am only that because you refuse to run. The people call it the Age of Moonlight now. Children are taught that the bond between the Alpha King and the girl who touched his curse was not a tragedy, but a transformation. The Moonlight Bond, that's what the priest named it. The Daylove burned through divine punishment and remade the kingdom's laws. No one fears the goddess anymore. They thank her for the curse that taught them compassion. As twilight deepens, Thallin and Vaira walk together through the palace gardens. The towers gleam with reflected moonlight. Musicians play softly from the courtyard below. A pair of white wolves lie at the edge of the stairs, silent witnesses to every vow, every rebirth. Thallin stops beneath the arch of the restored hall and looks up at the Skeeter. Do you ever wonder if she still watches us? Vera tilts her face toward the moon, now whole and calm. I think she's watching to see if we learned. He studies her quietly, then says, I thought curses were meant to destroy. They are, she answers, stepping close enough for her fingers to brush his, until love teaches them otherwise. He lets out a soft laugh. Not out of amusement, but awe. You make it sound simple. It is simple, she whispers, but never easy. Later that night, the council gathers in the great hall. They speak of harvests, treaties, and the new trade routes connecting the fractured clans. Thallin listens with calm authority, his every word met not with fear but reverence. He rules through gentleness now, a king who no longer commands power but embodies it. When the hall empties, he finds Vera waiting near the open balcony, silver wind stirring her hair. The goddess blessed our bond tonight, she says softly. He raises a brow. How do you know? The moon didn't burn when it touched your crown, she murmurs, reaching for him. That's how mercy looks on gods who finally understand love. He takes her hand, pressing it to his lips. I used to think love was meant to save me. Now I see it was meant to make me worthy of being saved. Her eyes shine like twin reflections of the moon. You were always worthy. You just needed to stop fighting the light. Outside, the night unfurls like silk. The wolves howl, not in mourning, but in song. The moon's glow spills across the courtyard, bathing them in the same radiance that once cursed and now blesses. Thallin wraps his arm around her as the stars shift above them. We'll be remembered as legend, she smiles. Then let the legend remind them that even curses can learn to love. As dawn nears, they return to the balcony of the Palace of Dawn, the same place where Thallin's crown first melted to ash. The city glitters beneath them, rebuilt, reborn. The river glows faintly with silver light, the last echo of the fire that once consumed it. Vera leans her head against his shoulder. Do you think it will ever fade? The fire? He asks. No, she whispers. Us. He looks at her for a long time before answering. The fire burned away everything that wasn't love. What's left can't fade. She closes her eyes, listening to his heartbeat, steady, human, whole. Above them the moon brightens, not as punishment but as promise. A streak of light crosses the sky, a comet silver and slow, blessing the night that birthed their bond. Somewhere deep in the wind, the goddess's voice lingers, soft, approving. True love does not break curses. It teaches them to heal. He was the Alpha King no one could touch. She was the girl the moon sent to change that, and though their bond still burned, it was love that finally taught fire how to feel.